Hello, people. Welcome to the show. Um, Game Shay is busy today, and I'm not sure whether he's going to come in. I sent him the link, so if he doesn't come in the show, it's only because he can't make it today. But I want to I'm basically having the show because I want to discuss something. I want to discuss a few things. The first thing I want to discuss is Sammy Gravano finally going off on J.Alite. What was his reason for going off on J.Alite? And people in the chat room today, usually we like to answer the chats and stuff. Being I'm here by myself right now, it's going to be very difficult for me. So I just don't want you to think that I'm avoiding answering any questions. So just put up whatever you can. I will go over everything. I will answer, and you can read them once you see it. What I want to discuss is Sammy Gravano came out basically and pretty much put J.Alite in his place. He literally said J.Alite is not a gangster. And because if he was a gangster, he wouldn't be acting the way he's acting. And I also want to discuss, why did Sammy do this? Did Sammy do this because he's a nice guy? Absolutely not. Is there a reason why Sammy did this? Oh, without a doubt. There's definitely a reason why Sammy did this. And it's self-interest. But the fact of the matter, he did do it. And there was one time where, when Sammy first got out of jail, he did an interview where he said that J.Alite was a gangster's gangster. Now he's saying that J.Alite ain't no gangster. Literally, he said a gangster wouldn't do this. A mafia guy wouldn't do this. So we see a full 360 here. I mean, basically, Sammy went from this guy's a gangster to this guy's not a gangster. So basically what it tells you is they're both full of shit. Because it's a self-interest thing. And I'm going to play this video, and just to give justice due to who started this story, last night, Bald Sicilian came out and played the video. He played the audio. And you got to give him his due, because he played the audio and he was the first one to really put this out there. So, we cannot, and I'm not going to come out and say, look, I got this story here. And no, it's Bald Sicilian broke it, and I'm just going to do it in a different way. And he played the video. He played the audio. I'm going to play the video. Now I'm going to warn you, please have your TV or whatever your volume turned up, because the volume on this is not that high. But the fact of the matter that Sammy said what he said is pretty incredible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it. And okay, 1 second, please. I just got to get rid of somebody from the chat room. You're going to get some jerks in here right away. These are J.Alite boys, fanboys. That's exactly what they are. Okay, so let's start with this right here. I'm going to go over to here, and if you have any trouble hearing it, or the sound's not there, please let me know. Okay, I'm gonna, let's start this right here.
Notice J.Alite said something about he wanted to fight John Jr. And then he said something about his friend wants to fight John Jr.'s son. It shows how little he knows about the mafia. We never interfere with families. You want to say something about John Jr.? Go ahead. The kid is off limits. Seems to be a nice kid. Big, tall, good-looking kid. He fights in a cage. Leave him the fuck out of your conversations. That shows how little you know about the mafia. Don't go to families. So it's probably sounding weird that I'm defending John Jr. or his son. We don't do that. And if you do that, it's a scummy move on your part. And all of Cosa Nostra, every made guy in the country understands that. So what you're doing by challenging his son or his daughter or whoever the fuck you're talking about, you're making a tremendous mistake. And that bothers me more than calling me names or whatever the fuck you want to say about me. But we don't do that. somebody will say something about my daughter because I cooperated. Just think about that for 2 minutes. Not even goes on Osher hates it, but think about it as a regular person. Why would you do that? It's disgusting. It's out of line. And so if you think I'm defending John Jr., he don't need me to defend him. He can defend himself. I think he's making a mistake. I think John Jr. might be tough with his hands. So I think you're making a mistake. But the big mistake you're making is challenging the kid. Leave it the fuck out of your mouth. I didn't want to talk about these things because they're all arguing, but I felt I had to say that at least when you're asking me that kind of a question. All right, go to the next question.
I've heard Danny Marino and Jimmy Brown.
Okay, so that's pretty much it. And what it comes down to is Sammy tried to stay out of this, and he could no longer stay out of it. And he had to jump in, and he jumped in. And pretty much what he said is he said that personally he thought that John Jr. would whip J.Alite's ass because he's good with his hands. And that's always been on the street. That's always been known. I heard that back in the 90s that John was good with his hands. I mean, the chances of J.Alite taking John Jr. in a ring, if he even considered it, is a fantasy in J.Alite's mind. And as we know, J.Alite is really, really good with fantasies. And, you know, he's not going to, he knows that, you know, you could challenge somebody, and you know when you challenge somebody, he knows he's not going to take it. And this is devastating to Johnny J.Alite that Sammy has come out against him. It was just a couple months ago that they were buddies. They were talking great about each other. And then what happened is John J.Alite, he's everything's going off the rails for him right now. You know, when you start showing up with your son on your shows and you're having your son saying, my dad was a killer, there's something wrong with that. That in itself is a major issue. And, you know, right now what he's doing is we're watching him literally melt down. We're watching him becoming insignificant. And what's going to happen is sooner or later, something's about to come out. And I know this. And it's pretty big. And when it comes out, that's going to be the final nail in his coffin. When I say nail in his coffin, I'm not talking about death or anything like that. I'm talking about this whole makeup scenario that he's made about how important he was. The saddest part is there are still fanboys out there that still believe him. How much evidence do you need? Now, is it good? Now, people here know that I despise Sammy Gravano. And I am not giving Sammy Gravano no credit for doing this because he didn't do this out of the sake of, let me put the truth out there. He did this in the name of Sammy Gravano. But the fact of the matter is he did it. He did it. And so Sammy deserves his kudos on this one. But no matter what the reason is that he did it. So right now, you know J.Alite's all pissed off. Okay, so you had Sicilian hit him last night. This morning you had Mob Rats hit him. And now I'm going to hit him. So that's 3 people. So what's he going to do? I mean, what's his next move? He's not, you notice that he's not answering any of these allegations? He's just coming out doing videos and ignoring these allegations ain't happening. Let me tell you a story about what he's doing right now. He has people like literally attacking me in on Instagram, threats. Now I'm getting threats. And, you know, he's not a gangster. I don't give a shit. He can say whatever he wants to. He could threaten me in any way. There's not even a little tiny bit of being scared or nervous because he is what he is, nothing. He is a phony. He is a fake. There's nothing good about the man whatsoever, and he continues this game. And that's what this is. It's a game to him. And he's doing this. Why? He's doing this. Why? Because he wants to make every penny he can off the Gotti name. He wrote a book. He did a few other things, and the Gotti's name's always in it because that's the only way he can make money. He cannot go on his own credibility and write a book that says, hey, my name's Johnny J.Alite, and here's my story. He can't do that. There's nothing. Everything has Gotti name in it. He totally associates himself with Gotti. So, Johnny J.Alite, I'd like to ask you this question. Sammy has come out and basically said you're not a gangster, that you don't go threatening his family. You just don't do it. So, okay, so if you can't do it, and then on top of that, you're going after the grandson who's an actual, legitimate, very good fighter, an MMA fighter, and you're talking about an old man, Baroni, fighting a young kid like that. Baroni, who was a loser as a fighter, he has a losing record. And you're talking about, like, you're backing him up. And not only that, you're taking Baroni and you're humiliating him, saying that he was part of your crew. Let's get this straight. Johnny J.Alite, you never had a crew. You may have had some friends around you that did what you said, but you never had a legitimate crew. You were not the head of no crew. You really going to have to get some therapy. You live at home with your brother at your mother's. You're pushing 60. I think it's time to move out. So what are you going to do, Johnny? Are you going to just put this to the end, move on? You know, do your station. Leave the Gotti's name out of your mouth. Just do your thing. Okay, and there's another guy, Captain 14. He's one of your fanboys, and he's putting a lot of stuff out there that ain't true. So Captain 14, I'm making you a challenge. You're saying some crap about my life. So I'm challenging you to come on my show, present your evidence, and to debate it. So you're a troll, and you've been going after me. You've been going after my brother. You've been saying some pretty nasty stuff. So be the tough guy you are and come on my show. And we can discuss things. I'll give you respect. I won't call you no names, nothing like that. I want you to come on here and present to me the evidence that you've been out there talking all this crap about me. And here's the difference between Johnny J.Alite and I. I will give you the opportunity to face me to my face. Anybody that wants anything negative to say about me and feel like it's true, I will give anybody that opportunity to come on my show and present their evidence. Because right now, this is a character assassination, which it's a good thing, because if you're trying to assassinate my character, that means that what I'm saying is working because it's true. And, you know, one thing I learned about the whole thing with my brother in the WWE when that all went down, the reason they can never get my brother out of the way was because he was always telling the truth. So, you know, are you willing to do this? Anybody, that's my challenge. Just come on here. You're more than welcome. And I want to tell you another thing about Sammy Gravano. Because I played this video and showed what Sammy did and how he attacked John J.Alite doesn't mean goddamn thing. Sammy is who he is. This is self-promotion. Right now, what Sammy's trying to do is clean up his image because he's with MTV. He's getting some serious stuff going on right now. And, you know, let's face it, he's making a lot of money. And, you know, we got like some dirt bags in here today, man. And, you know, unfortunately, my people ain't in here to block these guys. So I'm just going to have to do it myself. But, you know, that's all I can do is block them. But ask yourself this question, people. Why do they show up in my chat room? A lot of them. I've had people that are very close to this situation tell me that they're coming after me as hard as they are because I'm getting to them. And, I wear that with honor. The more they attack me, the better. To call me a child molester, actually put up stuff. There's this one woman that works for, he doesn't work, nobody works for J.Alite because J.Alite will not pay you. He will eventually screw you over. But there's this one woman that she is a part of his fan club. And she sent this thing out a couple years ago. And it was mocking the Gotti family. And then she sends the same thing out. I don't know if it was by accident or whatever. Same thing. And she writes these horrible things. I mean, and the page is called, it's a page and it's called Fat Slob Angel Gotti. And this woman has been doing this forever. And then she puts out a picture of a really pretty model and she cons people and says it's her. And then when you see the real picture of her, oh my gosh, I mean, you can't even describe it. And I'll be getting more into her. But so what I'm doing is I'm going, I'm checking up on all these people, researching these people and finding out who they are and where they're coming from. It's not that easy to, actually, let me rephrase that. It's easy to uncover them if you do research and who they are. And okay, I just want to play. Okay, what's this? Lee, seriously, I don't think it's fair for you to say that about Sammy. Yes, he ratted, but he was full Costa Nostra. Without a doubt, he was full Costa Nostra. I'm not talking about that. You never heard me say that Sammy Gravano was not the real deal. He was the real deal. But Sammy Gravano has done some very vicious stuff in the last couple months. And, one lie about Alan Kaiser, who he murdered, and several other things, But just because I showed a video of what he said about J.Alite doesn't mean that I feel different about him. So I'll give an example. Sammy Gravano was on video saying, swearing about Teddy Atlas, who was Mike Tyson's trainer, right? The first time Mike Tyson won the world championship. And his exact words was, F Teddy Atlas, who the hell is he? What has he ever done in his life? Oh, let me think. Oh, he trained the world champion? And he was mad because Teddy Atlas came out and said that when Sammy used to work out in a gym, he used to pay guys to take punches, fall down, and not hit them, just to look good in the boxing gym. That's who Sammy Gravano is. Okay, so, I'm not here to praise Sammy Gravano. I showed a video, he said, because, and you're right about one thing. That's why I put it up, is because he did say that J.Alite is not a gangster. He's not mafiosa. He said that today. But here's, I'm going to ask you guys something. Why is he on video saying, not on video, he was on audio, saying right when he got out of jail that J.Alite was the real thing. He was a man's man. He was like the real gangster. So he went in 2 years from J.Alite is a great gangster. Now he's saying that he isn't anything. And Mike says, Teddy Atlas, great trainer and good dude. All boxers liked him. Yes. And this is the guy that Sammy insulted. If you go back, you go watch. He said, F him. He ain't never done nothing in his life. Actually, when Mike Tyson grabbed Teddy Atlas's niece's behind, this is how they broke up. Teddy Atlas took a gun and put it right between Mike Tyson's eyes and said, if you ever go near her again, I will kill you. And Mike Tyson even talked about that. Mike Tyson admitted he made a mistake. And this is a guy that Sammy Gravano calls a punk. A guy that trained a world champion boxer. So basically what Sammy Gravano is saying is, I'm better than this guy because I'm a rat. but then, he's putting down Teddy Atlas. So, that's some good stuff to watch. Here's what I do. I challenge you guys. Go look up the Teddy Atlas feud with Gravano. It's quite fascinating. I mean, the horrible things that they said to each other. And, and that's what, and eventually Gravano got mad because Teddy Atlas came out and said, this guy's paying people in the gym to fall down when he hits them. And look how clever this guy is. Lee wets the sheets. See, these are the clowns. These are what you call J.Alite's trolls. Clowns. That's what they are. And all of a sudden they come out of the blue. You never see them and they come out. But, if they come out, I'll just put it up there and let you guys see what they do. Okay. Oh, we have another one. Now they're all just coming. When they come out, people, that's a good thing. That means right now they're listening to me. And not only that, we're almost at 300 people right now watching live. Lee Cole, act like a bitch, talking about things he doesn't concern you. You know what? They do concern me. And it's that easy to block you. You're gone forever until you change your little name and come back trolling for that freak of a boss of yours. So just think about it. Okay. And also, I'm going to play another video. This video I'm playing is the head, a guy. It's kind of a joke video, but I think he puts he came in as the head of J.Alite's fan club. So what we're going to do, I'm going to make sure I can find it before I start it, but yes, I can. Okay. Just give me 1 minute, please. I'm not really great at this. But I'm going to pull this up and we'll see where you can go from here. If I have any issues, I'm just not going to pull it up, but I'll try my best right now. Okay. 1 minute, please. Usually I have Kane Shade here to help me and while I'm doing this stuff, and he really bails me out. He's very valuable to this show. And so just give me 1 minute, please. Okay. I believe this is it. Let's see if it is. Yes. Okay. This guy, you listen to him when he first starts off, and then he pretty much says it all. So I'm going to play this. If you have any trouble hearing it, let me know.
Mikey Figs here. I'm baked like a cake. I'm not going to lie to you guys and girls. Bear with me here. I see the beefs going on with, Calandra and J.Alite and Mazza and Gunner. Gunner's a great guy, by the way. Nice guy. I don't know why, Jimmy, you don't got to go after Gunner, man. He's a good guy. He's not a bad dude. I like him. Me and him had a private conversation. I will not disclose it, but great dude. J.Alite, no, I'm not a fan of. But it's crazy that all these dudes, or not even all these dudes, Jimmy Calandra, like, bro, did you not watch my video? Do you not know how fucking dangerous J.Alite is? What AIDS was in the 80s to people, that's J.Alite now. That man is an assassin. That man has killed more dudes than Richard Kuklinski, the Iceman, and he killed like 200 fucking guys, dude. Jimmy, you're nuts, bro. This dude's you know what I'm saying? This dude's a scary dude. This dude whacked Bobby Kennedy, bro. He whacked Bobby Kennedy. No cap. Don't even investigate it. Don't even look it up. It's all true, bro. John Gotti's #1 hitman. Bro, you fucking with him. You fucking with a G. The man's crazy, bro. That dude got like 1,000 bodies from a gun that only shoots 500 bullets. Fucking Datsuns. You know what I'm saying? You fucking Pikyoks, Struns. Guys, just chill with the beef a little bit. Except Gene Borello. Fuck him, dude. Bald-headed ass.
Well, I just had to play it because I came across it and I found it pretty funny. So let me know what you guys think in the chat room. But, I just found it funny. Okay. And I just want to talk about another thing. I'm going to do a lot of serious stuff with this show. Right now, we have 307 people here. Thank you. I did not expect to get that many today on a Sunday afternoon. On Tuesday at 7:30, between 7:30, 8 o'clock, I'll have it all up. I'm going to have a gentleman named Jeff Nadeau here, and he has a show, and I'm going to pull that up. But his show is called The Sit Down. It's a mafia history podcast, and it's very, very popular, and it's gaining in popularity all the time. And so what I'm going to do that night, I'm going to have people in the chat room ask this guy questions about any type of mafia history. I'll give you an example. His latest, these are his last couple. He did one on Tony Accardo, a show on him. And then before that, it was Roy DeMeo. Before that, it was Anthony Gaspipe Casso. And then the Caboni Savage one about the drug trade, Gregory the Grim Reaper Scarpa, Al Capone. So this guy, and he's very successful. He did one on Carbon and the Snake Persico, which I thought was awesome. I'm going to have him on this Tuesday. It was hard to get him. And the reason it was hard to get him, because he thought I was going to ask him questions about J.Alite, and he didn't want to go in that direction. He said, look, he said, Lee, I don't mind coming on your show, but I want it to be about real mafia stuff, serious mafia stuff. So I said, yes, I promised him. So when he comes on, we're not going to be talking about Johnny J.Alite. We're not going to be talking about Sammy Gravano. The only way we'll talk about Sammy Gravano is his life as a gangster, because Sammy Gravano was a gangster. And Johnny J.Alite's not a gangster. And what you'll hear is you'll hear people say, oh, Lee Cole, he does that show where it's full of drama. That's what they say about this show. It's full of drama. It's not full of drama. We're talking about the rats, and that's what they use. If you go after the rats, they call it drama. And it's like, I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with Gunner. Gunner goes to me, hey man, your show is full of drama. So I can't, and he was kind of being insulting. So I said to Gunner, Gunner, you're friends with these guys. You don't know which direction your show is going. You'll have the rats on and they're your friends. And you'll never see me. I made one mistake with a rat and you guys know who it was and I paid for it and I'll never do it again. But you have to make mistakes in order to learn, especially in this business. And I'll tell you what, mob rats. He's not a rat. He talks about rats. Bald Sicilian. He's not a rat. He talks about rats. Those are the people that I will associate with. I will not be associating with those other people because they're not very good people. And it's not even about being a rat. It's these guys going on and denying that they're rats and calling other people rats, denying about their charges, what they've been charged with. One guy talks about one murder he was charged with. I go back and I read his story. It was 3 murders, but they don't tell you that. And now, YouTube is being infested with these guys that the government are putting out there, really bad dudes. And they're just they're just letting them come out and do this. Brandon Bell's, let me tell you something. Brandon Bell, me and him have our differences, but one thing about Brandon, he knows his history. Like if I make a mistake, Brandon will come at me and say, look, Lee, you made a mistake on this. And Brandon Bell knows a lot more about the mafia life than I do. And I don't mind being corrected. And people will also say, oh, Lee, you took these people out of the chat room. Because when I do a show, we'll get hit a little bit. And the following morning when I wake up, J.Alite's trolls come in. And all of a sudden I'll look and there'll be about 100 attacks. I mean, they didn't even go after my brother who committed suicide. I mean, they say horrible things. And a lot of these things you don't see. This is their style. But, nothing they do like this is going to affect me or stop me from saying what I have to say. I don't know what's worse. Is it worse that these guys can get on here and do all this stuff and pretend they're somebody else, still pretend they're in a crew? Or is it worse that we have a government that lets these guys, they'll take them in as rats. They know they have 3 or 4 murders. And they'll have them rat on guys that have fewer murders and take people down. And then the government will come out and say, well, everybody's a rat nowadays. No, there's guys sitting in jail to this day that are doing 20, 25-year sentence, 30-year sentence because they won't rat. You got guys from the Latin Kings that are doing big time because they wouldn't rat. You got guys from these motorcycle clubs that will not rat and they're doing big time. But you don't hear that. They just want you to think that everybody's a rat. Once you get busted, you got a rat. Okay, so we got Brooklyn 7 here. Brooklyn says, Lee, shut the fuck up and talk about something interesting. Well, I don't know what's worse, Brooklyn 718. If I'm not talking about nothing interesting, why are you here? So what I'll do here is I know who you work for and you're gone just like that. And I'll get a new tag and come back. Okay. I'm going to read some of these comments now. So if you guys want to ask some questions, there's 300 of you here. So there should be plenty of people. I'm going to do the best I can because I don't have my boy to be here to help me. And he's very valuable to the show. Jimmy Calandra is a clown and a hypocrite. He goes on your show to help you boost the channel, then demands that you take the video down after you talked about Sammy. Yes, but you know what? The reality is Jimmy Calandra actually has a good side to him. That whole thing happened. It happened. I'm not going to go with Jimmy Calandra. Me and him, we had a little issue for a couple days. To me, it's to arrest. As long as he leaves me alone, I leave him alone. The fact of the matter is he still is better. Out of all the rats, he's the best rat. That's how I look at it. Okay. Lee Cole, lots of guys don't rat. That's it. That's what I'm trying to say. But the government wants you to think everybody's a rat. Whether you like Donald Trump or not, think about the guys that went to jail for him and didn't rat. Think about Oliver North, that he could have ratted and destroyed the whole entire system, but he didn't rat. There's lots of guys that don't rat, but they want you to think everybody rats. Brennan Bell says, a lot of guys doing bids or do time because they didn't have anyone to tell on, or they would have to. 99.99% tell the facts. Well, yeah, Brandon, yes, but I know a lot of guys doing time that didn't rat, and they had the opportunity to rat. I told my story about how I had an opportunity to rat. So you make that choice. You really do. The only one trying to restart the mob is Coochie at the Build a Mob YouTube station. Tricky says, yay, they are the real gangsters. Sammy started the rat stuff. Yeah, Sammy did, and he's making a lot of money off of it, and from what I was told, he makes right now big money. He makes like $40,000 a month on his show alone. That comes out to $500,000 just on his YouTube show. That doesn't include it. He sells a lot of product, his merch. He sells a lot of merch. And then look what Michael Frances make. What does he make? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, he's probably the most popular out of everybody. And Michael seems to be doing real well. Okay. Oh, Brooklyn, laugh out loud. You still here, Brooklyn? Okay. Well, you're welcome to stay as long as you don't get too disrespectful. You can insult me if you want. Just don't be disrespectful about it. Mind someone else did. John Panesi would put the entire world with his stories. He's so slow. Okay. He's still talking because I'm not going to block him unless he gets really stupid. Okay. Brooklyn 718, Jimmy asked me to sit in. I don't know which Jimmy. There's two Jimmy. There's Jimmy Calandra and there's Jimmy A-Lite. So I'm guessing A-Lite because I can't picture Jimmy Calandra dealing with you. Let's see. True Love says Calandra wasn't a gangster. He was just a hang around. Well, you know what? That's not for me to know because I really don't know. Jimmy Calandra actually has some pretty good stories, and some of the stuff he says is true. So now that's how you have to look at that. And if anybody's trying to get me to go say something, I'm not going to. My beef with Jimmy Calandra is so minimal compared to these other guys. The one thing I know about Jimmy Calandra, he's the father of two girls that he loves, and that's his life. So, you can have beefs with people, but still respect them. And out of all the rats, I respect him the most. Lita, haters don't stop. They don't stop. The worse the haters get, the better it is, because that means they're listening. The more trolls I have in here, the better, because it means they're listening. When I started this show today, there were no trolls here, the regular guys. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of people come in and start insulting me. That's a good thing. I don't take it as a bad thing. If they're trolling my chat room, they hate me going on live. They threaten my life. They do a lot of things. It's unbelievable the things they do. But, Brandon Bell, Sammy didn't start it. Valachi did. We're talking about shows. We're not talking about Valachi. For people that don't know who Joe Valachi was, he was a driver, and he started snitching. He went before Congress and did testimony. It was called the Valachi Papers. If you want to go on to, I guess, YouTube and put in Joe Valachi, a lot of stuff would come in. He was the first big rat that came forward on the mafia, and he actually they didn't. What happened is J. Edgar Hoover denied the mafia existed. He knew it existed, but he just denied the mafia existed. So what happened when Joe Valachi was arrested and came out? J. Edgar Hoover was pissed because it made him look like an idiot, because he was saying there's no such thing as the mafia. And not only that, Joe Valachi is the first one that talks about how they made men, with the card in the hand, the lighting, and how made men were created. And that's what Joe Valachi talked about. Brandon, great stuff. Joe Valachi was definitely the first really big rat. But I think what people are saying about Sammy, Sammy is the first one to make the internet big with rats. Sammy came on and really had to take off. But I don't know if it was Sammy or Michael, but those are the two guys. Those are the two kings of everything right now. Those are the guys that are making huge money off of who they are. And there's no doubt they're making huge money. I seen Michael Frances do a show, and he was talking to his patron page. He had 700 people from his patron page just listening to him talking live to them. Just think about that, 700 people live. So that gives you an idea how much money Michael Frances is making off of his show. Plus, that's just a tiny little bit. Michael Frances is definitely making more than anybody. And Sammy's right behind him. That's what it comes down to. Okay, let's see. Stupid. As people in America, we have to wake up and stop worrying about the drama and worry about what the fuck is going on to our country. Grow up. I don't get what you mean. Are you saying that we should just ignore what's going on with the rats and stuff? Isn't part of the problem with the government the fact that they're paying these people and putting these people up the rat? Isn't that an issue? I would think that's a major issue. I had someone tell me that they have somebody out there trying to pick fights with people like me so they can investigate us. They literally want to pick fights with people to investigate people. So you have the government putting rats and telling them, go fight with this guy. So when people come in, I try not to fight with them because, can you imagine hearing something like that? That they want to go after people that are basically decent people in defense of the rats? That's pretty crummy, man. But, nothing should surprise us about the biggest mafia in the world called the United States government. Jimmy Calandria is a clown. Laugh out loud. The internet has ruined how people speak to one another. Yeah, well, it depends where you live, too. People in New York are just much ruder than people in Texas. I grew up in Manhattan. I worked most of my life. I spent a good time in Brooklyn, Westchester County. And people in New York are just extremely rude. It's just in their nature. And then you come out here to Texas, and people are so much difference here. They respect one another. There's just a different feel that you don't get in New York. Sean White, what's up? I appreciate that. I'm giving an example. Sean White comes at me all the time. He'll disagree with me, and he'll just say something and put it up. Those are the kind of people I like. People like Sean White that, he'll call me on stuff. But when he calls me on stuff, he's not disrespectful. That's the difference. And people will say, hey, Lee, why did you block this guy, and this guy? I block them because, one, I know they're trolls and who they're coming from. Right here, James Richards. Who cares about J.Alite? Move on, man. Here's the great thing, James. If you don't care about J.Alite, and I'm talking about J.Alite, you don't have to watch the show. Because I do a lot of stuff that's not based on Johnny J.Alite. I just told you that. I have the guy that runs a podcast, a Mafia podcast, coming in Tuesday night. Next Friday night, I have one of the top guys on the internet coming in, and we're going to talk about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and that whole situation, how one man's, how woke has destroyed one man's career and life. Don't get me wrong, Johnny Depp had a lot to do with that because Johnny Depp used to be woke. But when it came time, woke is turned on Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp's acting career is basically over because he was a man pushing 60, marrying a woman in her 20s. Not too bright. Okay, let's see. But Lee, you're most right most of the time. Oh, gee, most of the time is good, I guess. How can I call you on anything? You're 1,000 right on all this. Well, something, I've never been 1,000% right about a damn thing. I make a lot of mistakes in my life, always made a lot of mistakes. I've suffered from not having common sense in my life, and it's cost me, including putting me in jail a couple times. But I appreciate you saying that. As I get older, I think I have common sense, more common sense. Sammy was a fool to stay with John Gotti. John Gotti was a media whore. Then days were numbered. He should have seen that. I can't argue with you on that. John Gotti Sr. was way out in the public too much, and it's obvious. It came back and it burned him. But you got to remember, the main reason the government wanted to bring him down is because he beat them over and over and over again. And this is what gets me about John Gotti Jr. People say John Gotti Jr. was a rat. John Gotti Jr. was put on trial 5 times. You don't put rats on trial 5 times. He did a 302, and the reason he did a 302, he gave them nothing. Basically, just picture this. You're on trial 5 times, and every time you go into jail, they won't give you prison. They won't give you bail because you're John Gotti's son, and you got to sit in lockup 23 hours a day. And they did that to him 5 trials. A couple of trials they let him out on. It was a couple $1 million bail, but they put him on trial 5 times. And then that's where Johnny J.Alite comes into play. Johnny J.Alite testified against John Gotti Jr. in a trial. And afterwards, the jury came out and said, we found John Gotti Jr. innocent because J.Alite came off as a liar. And you actually had gangsters who were in jail coming out saying J.Alite was a liar. And then we are so dumb as a society, we bought into his stuff. We bought into the fact that Johnny J.Alite's a gangster, or Johnny J.Alite did this and that. Johnny J.Alite cares about one thing right now: selling his baseball bats. You know why? Because he has foolish people pay $200 for a baseball bat. And originally, when he sold that baseball bat, I remember when I started on him, and this was about a month and a half ago. I said, can you imagine a guy selling a baseball bat based on the fact that he bats people and he talks about beating people up with a baseball bat? And then after I pushed him, he all of a sudden he came out and said, oh, well, I played baseball. This is why I'm selling the baseball bat. It had nothing to do with baseball. He was using the fact that he beat people with a baseball bat to sell baseball bats. And some of yous on here might say, okay, Lee, you're talking about the same old stuff again. But remember, I have a lot of new people on my show now that I didn't have. So I'm going to bring up some stuff that I've already talked about, just so I can fill them in and give them my opinion. I hope I don't bore the shit out of you guys. But you know what? Right now, we have over 350 people here. That is a huge number for a Sunday in the middle of the day. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it, people. The Valachi Papers was the name of the movie, subsequent book based on his life. Shake my head. Are you correcting me, Brandon? I already told you I'm not a mafia guy that knows all history. You do. So if you correct me and put that in there, I appreciate you correcting me. But I was right about who Joseph Valachi was, and he was a driver. Johnny Depp got canceled. Yes, he got canceled. I mean, Johnny Depp got canceled because he thought he was a woke guy, and woke turned on him. The press hunted John Gotti. He would have to hide in the house to avoid them. Yes, he would avoid them, but unfortunately, he came out too, and he dressed in big, expensive suits. People didn't like that, and they just, there's no doubt that he liked publicity, and it may have been one of the things that eventually got him, because it was driving the district attorney insane, the federal prosecutor insane. John J.Alite sits down when he pees. See, I tell you, Brandon is a great researcher. He researched that. Brandon, do you actually have pictures of this? Because that would be a really good picture. Okay, Alan says, John Gotti. Okay, we got a lot of good Johnny Gotti stuff here. John Gotti realized everyone was going down on Rico. He had the foresight to recognize the mob as we know it was over. I really believe he used the celebrity concept as a strategy for the jury. You know what? Very good point, Alan. That is a very good point. That's why I love having all you intelligent people here. Or what did Gunner say about people on mafia shows? He said people on mafia shows, that's all they know about, and they have no money. That was a Gunner Lindblom quote. Carlos has been with this show from the very beginning. And Carlos, he has no problem to tell us. Carlos spent some time inside, he's that heavy time, and he never snitched. And Carlos had the opportunity to be a snitch, but he chose not to snitch and did his time. So when Carlos comes in here, I always read him. I give him as much respect as he deserves. Carlos says, I'm so sick of this government narrative that civilians believe. John J. Gotti was the most watched man in New York. Are there pictures of John Gotti Jr. in other states or countries? Yes, that's it. In New York. Not in. So good point, Carlos. You always got good points. Thank you. Mind someone else's business. Always has good stuff also. Ken G. Gallo should be talked about. He's a purebred. Well, you know what? We'll do research on that. And you have my email. If you don't have my email, let me know. I'll send it to you. Anybody that wants to talk about a certain subject, just ask me for my email. And, I get stuff all the time on my email. The video that I got, just so you know, was a gentleman named Tony. And Tony gave me this video of Sammy Gravano. He gave last night with Sicilian. He sent him the audio, or maybe Sicilian had the video but just wanted to do the audio. And so we were able to put this stuff out. And that's the great thing about us doing the shows right now. We're getting information from you guys. You guys come into our, you send us stuff. And it's phenomenal. The stuff that you guys send is amazing. It's like, I'm like, well, how the hell did someone get this, but nobody else has it? And Sicilian would say the same thing. He has a good relationship with the people that are inside his chat room. So they send him all sorts of stuff too. You'd be surprised the stuff we get. It's amazing. I'm like, we get stuff where I say to myself, this guy must have actually knew this guy because the stuff is so solid. Okay, Jimson says, Gotti knew the FBI were bugging everything, even his own brother, Castello, the commission case, all based of bugs. Basing everything at the Ravenite was madness. Yeah, it was. Now, I was told something. It's pretty sad. Howard Beach used to be full of made men and real gangsters. They're all in jail now. They're all gone. There's very few of them left. What has happened is the United States government has destroyed, with RICO, the mafia. And they've let in other organizations like the Chinese and the Russians take over. So they basically took an American mafia and destroyed it. And now you have the Chinese and the Russians doing what they used to do, but at a higher level. You got to remember with the Russians, most of the people that come here and become gangsters for the Russians are ex-KGB agents. And they come here well-trained. And same with the Chinese. They're well-trained. So these aren't like the old gangsters. Most Italian gangsters were uneducated and not too smart. And the guys that were the leaders were the smart ones. Most of the guys were like J.Alite, not too smart. And then you had your leaders like John Gotti and stuff that were very smart. Mob snob, mob snob, not only that he helped, I don't know that conversation I came in. Well, here's a nice, J.Alite wrote the 10 Commandments and handed them over to Moses. I heard that myself, thank you. Okay, check this out. Look at this clown. Lee Cole IV. This guy's been going into chat rooms and people think that it's me, or that's 5. And people think it's me. I go Lee Cole 3. And he'll make statements like I'm in a chat room making these statements. This is what he does. This, and it's most likely that he's associated with J.Alite. So if you guys see it, where they saying I said something, it's like they'll have me saying something like, oh, this guy's great. And it's not the truth. I didn't say it. And this is the perfect example, this Lee Cole 5 right there. You'll see a Lee Cole 4, 6. It's all lies, people. So look out whenever you see people in chat rooms with my name. Very rarely do I go in a chat room, first of all, to speak. There's only a couple shows that I will even go into. So this guy's just one of those ass clowns for J.Alite. I just wanted to show him to you. There he is. There's my name. That's the evidence what they're doing, people. Reagan gave FBI Bruce Mao and Giuliani unlimited funds for John. Yeah, it's the truth. They got unlimited funds. And when you go up against the government, what can you do? I mean, if they have unlimited funds, they got unlimited agents, they could spy on you in any way they want. It just, you're done for when the government comes for you. It doesn't matter who you are. The only reason they can't bring Trump down is because, believe it or not, they're having a hard time finding something that would actually bring him down. A matter of fact, I heard Sammy Gravano describe Trump. He said if Trump was a gangster, he'd be a godfather. And people don't want to hear that. They want to make it sound like Donald Trump's some idiot. And as we all know, that's not the case. Because if our government comes after you to take you down, you're not an idiot. They're afraid of you. Then people now are going to say, oh, he's a Trumpster. No, I'm not a Trumpster. I'm just telling you my feelings. Lee Cole, why do you keep talking about A-Light? Because I feel like it and I can. And this is my show. And if you don't want to listen to me, you don't have to. Pretty simple. Joseph says, Don Vito is doing his homework. Okay. I don't, and when it comes to homework, I get a lot of really interesting stuff where I don't have to do too much homework. It's easy to find anything you want out there if you really look for it. Haley, do yourself a favor, check FBS, no politics. You know what, Carlos, I try to stay away from politics, but I'm never going to deny who I am or who I voted for. That's the problem with Americans now. They're afraid to say what they did or what they feel. So we all should be able to say what we feel and who we voted for. And that includes people that vote for Biden, Bernie Sanders. People are just afraid to say what they believe. Because if you say what you believe on Twitter, what happens? They rip you apart. They attack you. Something vicious. That's what they want. They want us to all shut up and not say nothing. Then they take over. A snitch time scamming non-street guys with science fiction stories are over. That's it. Exactly. And that is Johnny A-Lite's life. Not, fictional stories, trying to make them non-fictional stories. And unfortunately, people that don't understand the mafia and how it works believe them. And mostly it's young kids. You got to remember, this is a guy that spent his time, half his life, sleeping on the couches of young kids. I mean, he hung around young kids. People will even say that. I'll give you an example. Look what he does now. He uses young people like Gene Barillo to attack people in his name. And, that's what he does. He just prays. This is a man that his last two shows brought his young son on his show to talk about his father being a hitman. Who brings their child on a show to talk about their dad being a hitman? That tells you everything you need to know about John A-Lite. And this is what people say all the time. And I'm going to get attacked really hard after today's show because I'm here by myself. I have no one to direct me in another direction. Usually I have my great partner here, and we'll talk about a lot of stuff. But today I can really talk about how I feel about Johnny A-Lite and really give him our attention. And that's because Sammy Gravano has made it official. Sammy Gravano has admitted basically that he lied about when he said that Johnny A-Lite was a gangster's gangster, he said. And now when he comes out with this video and says that he's not a gangster, that means that he's admitting that he lied. And it means that Johnny A-Lite's not a gangster. He was a thug. That's what he was. He was a thug that went out and did bad things to people. He shot people. He beat people. And then he acted like people were ordering him to do this. You have to understand, in 2001, Don Jr. smacked him and told him to get the hell out of town. I want to ask you something. You people think about this this is really important. If he committed the murders that he says he committed for John Gotti Jr., he said 3 murders. If he committed those murders, do you think that John Gotti Jr. would have smacked him and let him leave? If John Gotti Jr. at that time was running the mafia and, that family, the Gambino family, if he was running the Gambino family, Carlos, let me ask you a question, Carlos. You know the streets really well. Do you think, Carlos, that if Johnny A. Light was doing all those bad things, that John Jr. would just smack him and tell him to leave? Or would he have left in a different way? No, that's what you got to really ask yourself, people. This is how important he was to John Gotti Jr. He was so important that John Gotti smacked him and let him leave. Now, if this guy was really doing everything that he said he was doing, you know the code of the mafia. They're not going to let people leave like that if they have all that evidence on people. They're just not going to do it. Let's see. Next quote: Trump is an idiot. A lot of people says he's an idiot. You know, I even think he's an idiot sometimes. But you know that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it. Lee Cole, I underestimated your partner Shades. I'm starting to like him. You guys are a good team. Vincent, I appreciate that. Yeah, Shades is a very smart guy. He does great videos. He's a definite bonus. We're going to be working on a website that we're going to be building. And the website's going to be really good. And we're going to make the website part of this show. And one of the advantages of having my little tiff with Jimmy Calandra is the people that were Calandra fans that were here left. I don't need other people's fans. What I need are people that want to be part of this show because they like this show. So if you're part of this show because you like this show, you know, if you're listening to me right now, and if you've never listened to the show, please, you know, subscribe to the show, and we're going to give you good stuff all the time. And I'm not going to come here basing this on some glory stories about running up and down the street and doing bad stuff. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put stuff out there like Johnny A. Light, lies. We'll talk about Sammy Without a Doubt, but we'll also start getting into other things that have nothing to do with these guys. And that's the whole point of this show. And people will say to me, you know, even some fans would say, hey, Leeds, talk about other stuff. Talk about the Combat Zone or up in Boston. Talk about the Irish Mafia. All that stuff's going to be discussed, people. But right now, the story is Johnny A. Light. What's going to happen with him? You know, and there's a major story here. You know, Sammy Gravano came out and said that Johnny A. Light's full of shit. So we have to take that pretty serious and deal with it. What are we going to just pretend that he didn't say it? He said it. And so for the people that are fans of Johnny A. Lights, I'm hoping if you're fans of Johnny A. Lights and Sammy, you have to say to yourself, who do I believe? Do I believe Johnny A. Light or do I believe Sammy Gravano? I think when it comes to mafia stuff, you're going to believe Sammy Gravano, because you could say whatever you want about Sammy Gravano, but Sammy Gravano was the underboss of the most powerful family in New York at that time, the Gambino family. Maybe the Genovese was as powerful. It was pretty close. So no one could ever knock what Sammy was. Okay, we'll read some more questions here. I'm going to stay on for about 15 more minutes, and then I'm going to hit the road. But I appreciate there's so many people here right now that I want to stay on a little while. Don Vito says, Jamie Park, the five families were not terrified of John Gotti. The chin was whacking John Gotti's men, and that car bomb that blew up Frank DeCicco was meant for John Gotti. You know what? You're absolutely right. You know, Genovese was a very powerful family. Who knows what would have happened if the trial didn't come along? Would they have gotten John Gotti finally? I mean, they were making attempts at him. They were making runs at him. And when DeCicco, forgive me if I said the name wrong, was taken out, that was a very, very serious blow because he was so close to John Gotti. I mean, and they were supposed to both be in the car that day. And a lot of suspicious things about that. Sammy Gravano just happened to be there that day at the John Brown Club. It was a social club. And he never went there, Gravano. And all of a sudden he showed up this day, right before the bomb went off. You know, the movie got it wrong. They showed John Gotti that he was inside the club and stuff. He was not. He, at the last minute, canceled coming to the club. And when he canceled coming to the club, the Chico went out to his car, and we know what happened. You know, he blew up. I mean, his death was so violent. I mean, parts of his body were all over the road. I mean, it was a horrible bomb, and the bomb wasn't attached to the car. Someone came to the car, and this is why a lot of people think that Sammy might have had something to do with it. The bomb was thrown underneath the car. You know, usually car bombs are attached inside the car or underneath the car, but somebody that was there at that time came and tossed it under. That means that when the Chico went inside, somebody tossed that bomb underneath the vehicle. So that's very interesting stuff, but they don't talk about that. They make it, when they say car bomb, they make it sound like before the car blew up, it was attached. It wasn't attached. It was tossed underneath. Someone had a timer for it. When he got near the door and opened the door, boom, they blasted it. Like the movie got it wrong. They showed him sitting inside the car, turning the key. That's not what happened. The bomb was detonated as he opened up the door to the car, which is very fascinating when you think about it. Okay. Oh, here we go. See, you always know when these guys are coming in all of a sudden because I've never seen them before. They've never been in the chat room. So Lee wanna be Cole. No, I don't have to wanna be Cole. I am Cole. Now, do you mean Lee wanna be gangster? Okay. Way out of his league. Gianni Crew feared J.Alite. Now we know, dude, who you are. Wanna be Cole, beyond clueless. Do you see this stuff, though? This is why I show this. See, they're not used to this. When they used to go and terrorize people in the chat room with these clowns, people would just erase them and not put them up. I will put them up. You know why? Because I want people to see you. And when I put you up, then people say, you know what? Lee has a good point. Why is this guy coming out of nowhere? And why is he saying people fear Johnny J.Alite, want to be Cole, beyond clueless? Dude, just think about it. Sammy Gravano just said that J.Alite was fake. Is that enough for you? Or are you John J.Alite? Are you Jimmy J.Alite? Who are you? You know? So what we'll do there is just block his ass. Okay, Angel, unbelievable. Yes, it's unbelievable, Angel, ain't it? I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. Do the show on your own, lazy, old, foolish. Oh, Becky. So Becky, I've never seen you in here before, Beck, or whatever your name is. So do your show on the. Hey, people, have I been doing the show on my own? I mean, I've been here doing the show on my own. So I don't think you're too bright, Beck. But, you know, here's what we'll do to Beck. We'll just block Beck, and they'll come back as a different name. Jesse Gaddy, his second option was the rat. Yeah, it's always a second option. It's a first option, second option, third option. Ricky Rice, they didn't know it was the Genovese family. No, they didn't. To this day, they don't know who the hell it is. People say there's so many stories on that bombing to this day. You know, they say it's a Genovese family, and there's even people saying that Sammy was involved because he wanted to take the family over. So who knows? And as we know, Sammy was very good at doing what? Taking out his partners. If you were a partner, first of all, if you were a partner to Sammy Gravano, I don't know what the hell you were thinking. It's like you knew what happened to his previous partners. Okay, then we have Doug's dog training and day school. Angel, what is unbelievable? I think Angel's talking about people coming in here and making statements like about Johnny J.Alite being a gangster and having his own crew. You know, Johnny J.Alite just recently said, my crew. So in order to have a crew, that means that you had to be a capo and someone had to make you and then give you your crew? So Johnny Alite swears to God that he had a crew. What John Alite had was a bunch of followers that followed him, and they did bad stuff. They didn't do anything gangster style. What they were doing is just brutalizing, terrorizing people. That's what they were doing. They were nothing. They were no different than what you have people doing in Chicago now. Those gangbangers. There was no difference. None. Alite saw the bomb and attempted to jump on it before it detonated. I didn't hear that one, but if you say it's true, it must be true. Talking about car bombs, Lee, have you seen The Irishman? Good movie. I don't know. The problem I didn't like with that movie is they did all that technology with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. And they had the walk of an 80-year-old man, but they had the face of a 30-year-old man. I don't know. I just didn't really dig the movie too much because, well, first of all, that whole scenario about Jimmy Hoffa was not correct. It couldn't have been correct. Nothing, logically, none of it made sense if you read the history of Jimmy Hoffa and how he was killed. Okay, you wrote not true, Lee. I need to know what's not true, Angel. Fuck the rats. John Gotti forever. Died like a man, June 10th, knowing he was a man. It makes you question when you get in that line of business, you know what the deal is. It takes balls to do something like that, to be a real gangster. But it's the life you choose, and you got to choose the end result. Or you could be like people and just rat. That's the end result. They know a guy named Pate placed the bomb, then drive to detonate. Queso spoke about it. So Casso knew a lot of stuff. So no one's, who's to say whether it's true or not, but he did know a lot of stuff, and he was a pretty wicked dude himself. He wasn't someone who wanted to be looking for you. Ricky Wright says, if they would have known for sure that it was the chin, they would have taken action. Yeah, but it's hard to take action if your family's not strong enough. And that's the problem. At that time, was the Gambino family strong enough to hit back at the Genovese family? They were two very powerful families, but from what I understand, the Genovese had more soldiers, and John Gotti really didn't want to get into a war with them because he knew that it would be very ugly and very bad. Just very bad. Many men would die. I mean, you got to remember in the 80s and 90s, they were finding bodies everywhere back then. It was horrible. I mean, it's not like something a type of work that you should choose. Okay, Danny says, Frankie is spoken of like a god by many men. Sammy, Mickey Scars, Jimmy Calandra. He went to get a biz card for Frankie Hart Spallino, who was strongly resembled John Gotti. And that I heard too. So, there's quite a few stories. It'd be interesting to know what the exact story was. It might be the simplest answer. It might be exactly what you say, Danny. But, we live in a world of conspiracy. People turn things into conspiracies. I'm guilty of it myself. Okay, it's Johnny True Love sounds like you're well, okay. I don't know what this Johnny True Love too. That was that gangster out and that kid that murdered that young boy. I guess he's using that name. Alite is still jumping rope and punching the bag at MobCon. Can you imagine if he went to MobCon? Did he go to MobCon? I'd like to know that answer. I mean, MobCon's happening this weekend. I mean, I think it's still going on. But Friday and Saturday, and that's also where they announced the Gotti movie. And for people that don't know, Armand DeSanti, that did the original Gotti movie, which was a very good movie. He won Emmys for it. I mean, quite a few people won awards in that very first one that was made in 1996. So they're making part 2 now, and they're going to shoot right away, and it's going to be based on John Gotti in prison. and they're going to talk about what actually happened to him in prison, not what the media and the federal government planted. And that's going to be interesting to see. Jamie Park, John Gotti Jr. isn't a rat. I believe that 100%. I do not believe that you put rats on trial 5 times. If he was a rat, he wouldn't have been on trial 5 times. And he even admitted and said exactly what happened. And then you have J.Alite, who even has the balls to call anybody a rat. You know what? Go online and go to Google and put in J.Alite and then put in after that, who did he rat on? The list is like, I was reading the list yesterday. It had to be like 200 names. And then he'll get on and say, these guys all ratted, but I'm not a rat. And then you'll have Gene. Unfortunately, Gene is controlled by Alite. And you'll have Gene talking about people being rats. But what Gene did is he ratted. And when all these guys went to jail that he ratted on, he went back to the neighborhood and he terrorized it because there was nobody there to stop him. That's Gene. And that's fact. That's, what I'm telling you right now is not, even Gene says that. You best me to punch at Krumel. Krumel's a good guy, man. Why would you punch him? I mean, he's solid. I mean, actually, Krumel watches my chat room. He's a monitor. He also is from another country, and he's a great guy. I don't know why you want to punch him, Mickey. Okay. Jeff Miller, Dom Vito wanted Alite after Luca got, that was Luca went viciously, but hey, who knows? At Angel, great book. Okay, we're going to do a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to take a. Right now, we're at 375 people watching. They're watching boring ass me just sitting here talking. And as they would say, let me put it this way: Gene Burlow said that I had 20 people watching my show, and that I wasn't going to be around for long. I'm just one of those fly-by-night guys. So, Gene, I know you're still around, and I know you're watching this show all the time. Right now, there's 370 people watching. I challenge you to do a live show and have 370 people. Prove me that you could do that. Okay. Tricky Ricky, Sammy helped kill one boss and put another boss in jail for life, and that's Cosa Nostra, right? Sammy was vicious, man. Sammy didn't care. You got to remember when Sammy when he got out of jail, he went down to Arizona and he started the drug ring. And then he came out and after the drug ring said, well, I was worried about my kids. I got involved with the drug ring. But if you read any of the documentation on it, including his confession, he was the mastermind. And I'll have Mr. Bell here disagree with me, but I had people send me articles about the whole entire thing with the drug ring down in Arizona. And all the articles said the same thing with Sammy Gravano quotes that he was the mastermind. Sammy Gravano does not work for people. Sammy Gravano is a leader. That's the one thing you could say about Sammy Gravano. He doesn't follow people. They follow him. And if he had to follow somebody, what he usually did was take them out. So with John Gotti, I'm sure it was eventually that he would attempt to do something to John Gotti. So, Krumel, that's okay at Mickey Great. Well, good. Krumel's he's a gentle giant. Don't do anything, Krumel, please. Okay. Gene Borello is dude, why are you insulting clowns? Is that really cool? You got clowns out there that are looking to make, they're going to kids' parties and stuff, or they're doing Stephen King movies, and you just insulted them. And that's an honest line of work. Do you think Gene Borello ever had a job? That's the question, people. Did Gene Barello ever have a real job where he literally had to go to work, punch the clock and work? Sammy Gravano equals Jimmy Moran. That's a good comparison. They should take a look. They should have took out Gotti for the way he was acting. Joseph Losey said that. Well, that's your opinion. I got to respect it, and you have your reason for that. And you're not the only one that ever said that. Gene can chew down on an oak tree with those teeth. You could also say that Sammy used his children as drug mules. Yes, he did. They got him on tape talking to his wife, and he's arguing with his wife, accusing her of not delivering everything, of basically ripping him off. They got that on video, on phone tape. And remember, and we talked about this, when he was down there in Arizona, the Arizona State Police did not want anything to get out because they were afraid that the government, when they would have been so embarrassed that they would have shut it down, and they probably would have let Sammy go. So they did not even let the United States government know what was going on. David Lovis says, Armenia itself exported all their collected drugs and paid to have it planted on Gravano and said, oh, come on, dude. I hope you don't believe that. I'm saying, I'm pretty sure you're joking. If you're joking, it's funny. If you're not, I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what to say. It's funny how J.Alite calls everyone keyboard gangsters, but meanwhile, he's hiding behind a keyboard too. Not only is he hiding behind a keyboard, he has people working on computers attacking people. So if you've been in this show for a while, you've seen how many times I've been attacked. Those are people that are either trolls or they're just totally working for them. The lion does not concern himself with the chattering mice. So are you calling J.Alite a lion? Because according to Sammy, he's no lion. He's not even, well, a sheep. J.Alite is so full of shit, he could float. Christ, there are still plenty of guys out there who can tell you he's full of shit. But people don't even want to be bothered with that clown. That's true. But the scary part is there's so many people that are bothering with him. We Are Fine at Lee Cole at Crumel is a good guy in my book. Mickey, he's a great guy. And he's one of my, I love him because he protects me in this room. And he'll just knock people out if they come in here being totally disrespectful. Sammy killed his partner's friends and took their businesses. That's why Gotti was about to whack him. A lot of people said that, and that he did do that. I'm going to stay on for 7 more minutes. That will give me an hour and a half on, which I never expected to do. And to stay at this level of the amount of people in here right now is pretty impressive for you guys. You guys are pretty amazing. And I can't ask for more. But what I'd like you to do on Tuesday night, please, look out for my show. The gentleman that's doing it, it's called The Sit Down. It's a mafia history podcast. And I want you guys to come in and basically ask him questions. Whether you're a Tony Accardo fan, Roy DeMeo, and you want some real history behind stuff, ask him. And then, if you like his podcast, go join it. And I'm hoping that people on his podcast will join my show. And then on Friday, we're going to do the show about Johnny Depp. And the person doing that show, his name is Rob Rules. And that's the name of his show. He has a lot of followers and subscribers. And he's an expert. He's been following this Johnny Depp thing from the very beginning. He has all this documentation that nobody else has and stuff. He's going to be here and he's going to tell us about the whole case and what's going on right now and how that case is about to end. I mean, when it ends, because it's going to go before they delayed the trial, but it is going to go on trial where he basically is going to fight Amber Heard in court. And the man Johnny Depp lost, he was Captain Jack Sparrow, and he lost that role. They fired him, and now they're talking about giving the role to a lesbian woman and make Jack Sparrow into a lesbian woman pirate. Can't make this up. So this is what they're planning on doing. So if you were a fan of Captain Jack Sparrow, just think about what they're doing. Johnny Depp used to dress up as Captain Jack Sparrow and go to all these kids' hospitals. And he would donate his time to all these kids that were sick with cancer. And he would just show up as Jack Sparrow. And you had to see these kids' faces would just light up. But Hollywood didn't care. They took that away from the hospitals, from the kids. That's one of the things that he did. And he was going to several dozen every week of these hospitals with these sick children. But, we all know Hollywood don't give a shit about anything like that. They really don't. I'm going to take a couple more for 4 minutes, and that's going to be it today. John Losey, the past generation did everything wrong. We are here picking up their pieces today, without a doubt. And then on top of that, we have what they call the millennials. Oh my gosh. Whew, that's scary. Sammy killed his own sweet grandmother. Can't nobody fuck with that. But now they're talking about that he threw her down the stairs or something. I don't, something. If anybody has information on that, please let me know. But, I'm hearing that Sammy came out and said that he threw his grandmother down some stairs. I don't know if it's true. I don't think it's true. But, is that just a rumor somebody's starting? I don't know. I'd like to know. So if someone can give me some information on that, I'd really appreciate it, because that's something I definitely would like to look into. Funny man, I have a baseball bat signed by J.Alite. Oh, so not J.Alite, J.Alite. And for people that don't know, when J.Alite first came into, and he met John Gotti Jr. in the 80s, he pretended he was Italian, and he called himself J.Alite. And then one of the things that happened is one of the guys knew it wasn't true, and he basically told everybody that J.Alite was really J.Alite. And he basically turned him in, and then people at that point lost a lot of respect for him. And that's when right about that time is when he got smacked out, because what he was doing is he was going to clubs and he was selling drugs and he was using Gotti's name. And then Gotti kept telling him, stop using my name. He warned him over and over and over again. But every time he went to the clubs, he would just scream it to the top of his voice that he was with John Gotti Jr. And nobody ever denies it. He was a friend of John Gotti Jr.'s in the beginning. But I also understand that John Gotti's wife never liked him and said that guy's bad news. I don't like him being around here. So, and we know what happened with that. Okay. Well, I'm going to read, let's see, we'll read a couple more here, then we'll call it a day. Guy, who the fuck could be a Roy DeMeo fan? The guy was a human butcher. That's true. And when I say fan, I wasn't a fan of his. I was fascinated by him. Do you know how hard it is to be a human being and cut up another human being like they're cattle? Just that alone is like scary as hell. That he could literally kill a human being, take him into the back room and dissect his body by the joints, and then put the body through like a meat grinder or in bags and put it all over the city. I mean, that is pretty scary. Okay, this is my last question and we're going to call it. Lee, I asked you this the other night, but I didn't get to hear your response. Gene Barillo claims to have tried to rob Ali Shades and fought with him. I find that hard to believe. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to check into that and see what I can hear about that. I got a very, very good source that I will ask that very question. If my source is listening, just in case I forget to ask you, please, is this true what Gene Burrow claims to have tried to rob Ali Shades? And the word is tried. So I'm guessing that he didn't accomplish it. But Gene is selling signed zip ties. Okay, people, I've done this show for 1.5 hours today. We stayed above 300 for the whole show. Thank you so much. You guys are really making this show popular, and it's so appreciated. And we're going to just try to give you good quality stuff and knowledgeable stuff, and not be a lying fools like these other shows. Not when I say these other shows, I'm not talking about Sicilian or Mob Rats. After that, you take it as you want. There's 3 legitimate shows as far as I'm concerned. Mob Rats and Sicilian are 2 of those legitimate shows. And don't get me wrong, there's other ones out there too that I'm just not thinking of the names. But those are ones that if you want really good, knowledgeable stuff that aren't lies, go there. Go to their shows. I would recommend them as much as, and I hope they would recommend me. Okay, well, everybody have a nice one. I enjoyed this. I'm going to take off today. I'm probably not going to do a video tomorrow unless something comes up. But Tuesday night at between 7 and 8, we haven't decided the exact time. I will put the information up that. The Sit Down, a Mafia podcast ran by Jeff Nadeau is going to be on here. Jeff Nadeau is also Albanian. And he is not a fan of J.Alites. That culture in general, those people in general are not fans of J.Alite. Thank you guys for listening to me. I hope I didn't bore the shit out of you. And everybody take care. I'm out of here now. I got things to do. But thank you so much. It's been a great show. And I really am appreciative of so many people showing up. Thank you.